Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, Nick McDaniel, and as always, I'm joined by Buddy But Iron.
Dance break. Y'all have fun? Y'all have fun watching the show last night, guys? How y'all doing?
I'm getting better at this floss thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It was fun. It was a fun introduction to a show. I really liked what they did.
I agree, man. Let's shoot, man. We'll shoot right out of the gate, and I'll start out.
The energy. The energy.
Yeah. Well, I asked you a little bit earlier, we were talking, and I just wanted to say, doesn't it just this week Smackdown seem like the A show? It was the better show.
Oh, yeah, it was the better show. Raw was good, though. I enjoyed Raw, but the Smackdown thing was awesome. The videos, the highlights, the old stuff. Yeah. I really did enjoy the whole show.
I did really enjoy the video, like the pictures from the past. Some of that stuff was really cool to go back and make you think, Jesus, have I been watching this long?
Yeah, we've been wrestling fans, and I've watched SmackDown since the start. I didn't watch for years, but I remember when the first episode of SmackDown came out, back when it was Raw, and then The Rock came out and did all that stuff, and they named a show after him. I loved it.
Let me, before we'll sidebar, and this is not going to go long, I just curious question. With SmackDown, whose show is it? You always hear like such and such. It was, was it John Cena's show? Was it The Rock show? Was it, Edge's
Taker show? Edge's, yeah. It'd always be Rock show to me, because he's the one that coined the phrase. So I can't argue with that. I like The Rock for that kind of stuff. He was the guy and SmackDown was supposed to be the more fun show, and it had that Rock personality. So that's what I thought about it.
Yeah, I don't think you can go wrong. There for the longest time they had the old SmackDown 6, as they called them, that Angle, Edge, Guerrero, and all that Benoit, and those guys that were in there at the time. They're kind of the backbone of it, but I think you're right with coining the phrase. Makes sense. It's the Rock show. But actually, we're talking about being the A show. I did want to, some of you got to think about, man. They're moving to Fox next year with all that money influx going forward. This might be the norm.
Well, they're going to put the production and the star power behind it. It only makes sense that since it's going to be their big money show, they're going to jump on and they're going to push it like that. So I would think that we're going to get more of this.
But there's a billion reasons why you may see the bigger names over the next year start working their way to SmackDown. And when SmackDown hits Fox, I would not be surprised at all if they came out, boom, guns blazing, and literally that's the new show.
No, I wouldn't be surprised either, because they're gonna have to put a lot in there to make it. It's going to have to be palatable on a network. They're gonna flash and everything else and get people to be interested. So it's their chance. This is their chance to make it on the big screen, for lack of a better way to put it. They're going to make it on network TV. They're going to get over, and they're going to. I would think they're going to put everything behind it. Well, and it was a great experience.
Yeah, the big money alone, kind of like I said, is the reason they're going to have to. Kind of jumping over to the and by default, like you said, going to a network broadcast channel. By default, they should have bigger numbers.
Yeah.
And with everybody talking about the ratings, that they're getting now and how they're declining and things like that, that'll help. That'll be a boost in the arm, to say the least.
And I thought they kind of captured the old magic last night. And I love that. That's what it felt like. It felt good to be watching a wrestling program.
I agree with you. They mixed in some nostalgia. They mixed in some great wrestling. They, got to mix them there. And, I thought they did a pretty good job, but that was, guns blazing. There was lots of guys over, Taker was obviously bouncing between shows now and between Raw and SmackDown, whatever he wants.
They brought Evolution out, and those guys, that was good. You got Randy's ego. You got Bautista's star power. You got Ric Flair's age. And Triple H's just influence in the business all in one place. And it was good to see. And I wasn't an Evolution fan, but I like the fact that those 4 guys got back together on the program, and they worked a little heat. They, there was tension between them. It wasn't going to be something they would, those 4 guys aren't going to be on every show. And they did what they did to get a little bit of rub together. And I think they turned in a pretty good little program. I
agree. And we'll jump back to that in one second, because I did want to ask you about a rumor that I heard. There's a rumor floating around there that this brand split thing may be over when they go to the separate networks.
I'm going to have to that's the thing. I have to try to figure that out, and what the advantages and disadvantages are going to be to that. And I'm kind of losing it at times, is my understanding of it, because you've got all this going on, and you've got your big money in one place, but you still got to put on a program for USA. Are you going to abandon USA? Or the people who brought you here that aren't giving you the most money right now, but are you going to just write that off and just give them the basically the pre-recorded Smackdowns like we had years ago? That part kind of scares me. So we'll have to see how that works out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping it doesn't happen. I mean, I like the split, the brand split, so you got an opportunity for some of the younger guys and try to work their way up. Yeah. The question becomes, are they grabbing and seizing that opportunity?
Well, they better.
The other option is one that we think, I'm think is more likely to happen. I think Vince McMahon's probably just going to throw money at more big names across the world and bring in the stars, kind of like he did this week. I mean, we finally, and when I wrote this on my notes, it literally is all caps, finally get the Rey Mysterio return to WWE on this week's episode.
That was cool. Man, that was cool getting Rey back. King of the Luchadors, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that's the best way to describe him, but getting Rey back was nice. It was a good feeling to me. It made me, like I said, I reminisced positively about it, and it gave Nakamura a little bit. I hate to say Nakamura is not legitimate, but it gave him a little bit more legitimacy to go out there and wrestle Rey like that, because the rub, and they missed that, and they missed that a lot. The rub and getting the right rub on the right people. So I hope it works out, and I hope it draws, and I hope it helps the product.
Yeah, I mean, hell, we've been hearing about it for a year. It seemed like, Rey back.
The whole Rey thing it's taken forever, and it almost made me lose interest. It took so long.
Yeah, I mean, he had to pop in at the Rumble, right? He pops in at the Royal Rumble, and then we started hearing he's going to Impact, he's going to New Japan, he's All In and on and all these different things. Mm-hmm. I'm glad he's back as well. I've been, here, you brought up him wrestling Shinsuke, right out of the gate on his first night back. This would have been an internet dream match. People going like Mysterio Nakamura, had it happened anywhere else in the world, but because it happened to WWE,
You're 100% right. You are 100% right. It's hard to admit things like that. But it is. And this goes back to this elitist fan base stuff that I see from other things. It's like, my product is so much better than your product, and I don't want to watch the WWE, and they're commercialized, and they deal with the Saudis, and they do this, and yes, it's great, man. If you like it, watch it. But if nobody else is watching your program but you, it's you. It's not the program. Okay, nobody wants to see that, and there's better wrestling in the world than WWE, but they are the product. They're the brand that's everywhere, and you just have to accept it. You can't argue with it. And I don't see why people want to argue about wrestling and why people want to get so butthurt and want to defend and think they're better than other things. It's not good for anybody.
Yeah. And I mean, my big thing, man, I know this sounds weird. We all know this is probably Ray's swan song. It was we've talked about it in the past about it's probably a way to get his kid, in the performance center. But Ray belongs and people want to disagree with, that's fine. If you want to disagree, you can Tapped Out Nick, or you can message us at Tapped Out Pod on Twitter, Facebook, tappedoutpod@gmail.com. And just, you can argue all you want, but Rey Mysterio belongs on the grandest stage of them all. And unfortunately for a lot of people in this world, they don't want to accept that's the WWE product.
Yeah, because he can't be back on WCW. I mean, that's,
well,
I thought that was where, to me, Ray made it on WCW first, but now WCW is WWE. So like it or not, that's where he's at.
Yeah, and I don't mean to, I'm not trying to crap on any other products, but, we're going to discuss some stuff later on Impact, and we always, Ring of Honor is what it is, and I love both products, but I want Rey Mysterio to be seen, and even as down as they may be, I'd want Rey Mysterio to be seen by 2.3 million people a week, more than anything. Yeah.
Yeah, and I suspect last night's ratings are going to be higher than 2.4 million.
Well, we'll see. Raw's was like 2.379. They were up a hair from the last week, so they didn't set an all-time low again. They're kind of bounced back a little bit, but
this is the time of year where nobody watches wrestling. It happens every year.
And you want to know why, guys? First to say it, I'll go ahead and throw full disclaimer. Monday, didn't watch Raw live again, because guess what? This is like the third week in a row I've said this. Shouldn't have been a good game on Monday Night Football, but there was a damn good game on Monday Night Football.
They're having a lot of good luck putting on these games.
We got to see Aaron Rodgers do what he does best. He scored, 10 points in the last 2+ minutes or whatever in the game. And God bless him, he brought me down from a 46-point fantasy deficit. I had their defense, their kicker, and I had Devontae Adams. And I kid you not, I won by 3 points, and it was all because of the last drive of the game where they drove down. I'm like, yes! When the kicker kicks awesome. the winning field goal, that actually wins the thing for me. So, but they're putting on some phenomenal football games right now, and crap on the product all you want about the roughing the passer calls. There is some bullshit. Don't get me wrong, but they're putting points on the board. There's a lot of high scoring games. Close games, and so anyway, that's why you people aren't watching, live anymore. Is because crap like that, you have to watch it live.
Yeah.
Now, SmackDown on the other hand, Tuesday night, two of my favorite shows, well, let me back up. My wife's favorite show and my favorite show, one of my favorite shows, are on Tuesday nights now. She loves This Is Us. I like The Flash, and guess what I'll be watching today? The Flash, because I watched SmackDown live.
Oh, wow.
And that was because amongst Rey Mysterio, all these other returns, like you mentioned earlier, Evolution rolls out and classes up the joint a little bit. And when you think about that now, when they came together years ago, it was a big deal because you had Triple H and you had Ric Flair. Mm-hmm. There was that rookie kid, Randy Orton, and a relative newcomer, Bautista.
And Randy's got, 14 titles by now?
Ray's 13, Triple H is 14, Rick's obviously 16, and I don't even know how many titles Bautista has. And that's just nuts.
Yeah.
That whole segment, man, Orton took those little cheap shots playing the heel, taking shots at all three of them in a weird way. Flair and Triple H put everybody over. That's kind of what they do. I was going to ask you, they gave Batista the longest mic time out of all of them. What'd you think of that?
Which is weird because he's not Mr. Mike. But, he's the big star. He's the legit crossover star. And as much as I say, I don't care about saying, but the Batista versus Triple H, that's just they've done this before. But he's a legit crossover star, and they crave that stuff. He's Drax, He's in all the Marvel movies.
He was in a 007. Remember, he's done several things, and that's what I'm saying. He's a mega star now. People, we come back to the casual fan, knows who he is.
Yeah.
Your Marvel fan knows who he is, that kind of thing.
Why is David Bautista on this wrestling program. Because you probably don't know he even was a wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the majority of the people who just watched Guardians of the Galaxy and Avengers, they don't know he's a wrestler.
Yeah, because you're going to see on TMZ that Batista is going to be in a match or something, and they're never going to be like, what? Why would he do that?
Yep.
But, you know, I thought he did a pretty good job, and I get it. The real logic in giving him the most mic time is, guess what? Triple H can get mic time anytime he wants it. Randy Orton gets mic time every week. Flair, whenever he wants to be there, you know they'll come up with a reason to put a mic in front of him. They couldn't resist the dick joke.
No.
I mean, had to throw that in there.
Just gets your pants.
And then he did that you see with it walking with the mic going, you know, like
I didn't catch that part.
Yeah, he said that, and then Batista walks like across the front, like swinging his arm and the mic, like, and I'm like, oh, okay, throw in, you know, put the baby's arm away. But the biggest thing that comes out of this whole segment, by the way, which was just, it was just cool that he was there. I mean, I thought myself, but, they kind of teased, man, WrestleMania, are we going to get, I put Survivor Series, but I think that's too short of a notice. But WrestleMania probably, are they setting up Dave Bautista versus Triple H?
Well, they teased it. You know, that's what it looked like. So, I believe they were. You know, that's what I thought. It looked like, and it's what everybody's talking about. Everybody's like, oh boy, we're going to get Batista and Triple H. And it looked like it. So I was of the opinion that's where they're going. I don't know personally, it's not for me, but you know, the more eyes they get on the matches, the more matches they give for me. So they'll be, if that match is a big deal on the main card, I'll get at least 5 or 6 good undercard matches I'll be super excited about. You know, so that's just the way it works. That's cool to me.
It'll draw eyes, right? We just talked about it. It'll draw people. It draws
eyes, and you have to draw eyes to your product to be able to sell anything.
Especially Mania.
Yeah, it's good for everybody. When you make this program that is so over the top and gets a lot of people watching, down the road, that's good for all of us. You know? It's really good for all of us to get more eyes on the product and get more money in, because when they've got more money, they can book more stuff that you'll like. And they'll book stuff for us. So don't fault it. I mean, it's like I said, not for me, but I think it's the best thing for the business. And wrestling's a business. It's not a performance art form, okay? It's not something that you're going to be like, wow, I don't know if this is going to meet the standards of my impressionist art form, and it does not touch me. No, it's wrestling. Guys, it's just wrestling. It's not, everything's not for wrestling fans. It's for bringing eyes on the product and making people interested. When people get interested, more money happens. They get a lot more, a lot more of the good stuff we like. So enjoy it. I mean, hell, it can't be that bad a match. Triple H can put on a match with a broom. You know?
I mean, and Batista, if he's serious, which we know he would be, he would put on a good match. I mean, I think it's going to be different. It's not going to be, you know, a Dave Meltzer 5-star New Japan match. Or
no.
Doesn't have to be. We're going to get to see a story.
Want it to be.
And see, that's the thing I think where it's lost a little bit. I wanted to ask you about all the, with Batista coming back, obviously they're using Taker a little more than they had been, but it's still kind of the same. The legends who are returning, Shawn Michaels coming back, on and on and on. The list goes on and on. The return to the legends, as much as people want to crap on it, it's to draw attention to the product, because then they're going to see the other guys that you're hoping that your diehard wrestling fan wants to be over as much as, they were, because let's be blunt, they're not.
Yeah.
There's no one right now that is over as much as, as a Triple H was, or a Shawn Michaels was, or an Undertaker was. And so everybody always used to throw the gimmick in of they should wrestle the new guy to put them over. Wouldn't matter.
No, and I think the rub doesn't mean what it used to, where you put the guy over before you left the territory. I just don't think it's as important as it used to be. I think people are more dependent on seeing you build your character for your character, and build your character and develop on your own. And people they don't see the credibility, and it may be because of the cat's out of the bag. We know that wrestling's not 100% unpredetermined, for lack of a better way to put it. And so when a big guy gives a rub to a new guy, it doesn't mean the new guy actually defeated him, so that might take some of the credibility away from it.
Well, let me ask you this too. If you beat a Shawn Michaels, you're beating a 50-year-old Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, it's not like you put over Dusty. Dusty put you over before he left the territory. It's not like when the Road Warriors left, and they told him not to put Midnight Express over, but they still put the Midnight Express over because they were leaving the territory, and it meant something. It's like we're not gonna beat you in your hometown and then leave the territory. That doesn't make any sense. And
well, I'm just saying it's
not like that anymore.
If 10 years ago, AJ Styles wrestled Shawn Michaels at a pay-per-view and he put him over, he still beat a 40. But it's not as,
yeah.
And I think that's where he's lost, that's why I think people want to see the nostalgia and and I get it, but I think the problem is your diehard fan wants to see the 5-star, classic, and I'm like, okay, but every match can't be that, and it shouldn't be that, because if they were all 5 stars, by the time you get to the last match, you're numb. It doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to do that every match.
Yeah, so I'm a fan of the Legends coming back. Even over on the woman side, at Evolution coming up, you've got Trish and Lita. They're coming back in a tag match. And so, they're going to even do that on a women's pay-per-view coming up.
Yeah, I think that was the best decision they possibly could have made. As much as I love what they're doing, and I love what they're working on with the women's movement, Trish and Lita coming back is good for business. Because that's going to draw, like, say, you weren't a women's fan, but you loved Trish and Lita back in the day. Say you haven't bought into the new Evolution, but you sure would like to see them again. I think it's a no-brainer. It draws more eyes. Look at Mickie James with them. Okay? Mickie James is having the highlight of her career at like 34, 35. The best there she's ever done. She's not like a 9-time Divas champion right now, but she is having a tremendous run on a bigger stage. Alexa Bliss, credibility out the ass now. I think it actually will make Alexa, it's where we said it didn't work for the men. I think this will make Alexa Bliss look like $1 million. So that's where I'm going with it.
I'm with you that. By the way, while we're talking about Evolution, it's October 28th, man. It's just around the corner. We're just a week and a half away from it. Wait. I know somebody in this household, man. She's psyched about it. She's been talking about it for a couple of weeks now, heading into it. But like we were saying, when you look at this card from top to bottom, and let's kind of stack it the best way I can here real quick. Rousey and Nikki, first of all, hell of a segment on Raw Monday. They stole the show on Monday, in my opinion.
They stole the show. It wasn't what I would call a perfect promo. There was some stuttering. Rousey had a bit of a time getting her tone of voice ready, and I really didn't like that. But it didn't detract from the quality of the feelings and the emotion. Ronda was rattled, and that was cool. She was actually getting emotional and yelling, and then she really slurred Nikki on a grand scale, which I thought was awesome. So yeah, it was a passionate. You believed it. Was that not a incredibly believable promo?
It 100% was.
Okay. You felt like Ronda was mad and she was just shooting from her heart on this. So I thought it was great.
Yeah, the personal dig makes it even a little bit better. I know my wife doesn't like that when they mix in their personal life and stuff like that, but I totally I'm like, that's what blurs the line a little bit to help a little. We have to just, suspend our disbelief as it is. Throwing in a little reality, I think, helps that.
Well, one of the greatest angles of all time was Benoit, Woman, and Kevin Sullivan. And if that wasn't about a personal angle, nothing was. That was about a personal angle that went so far, it actually led to Kevin Sullivan and Woman getting divorced and Chris Benoit marrying her. Okay? That took it too far. but that was good for business. People still remember that stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, they do the same thing. Think about it. Over on SmackDown Live, Edge has, the cutting edge. He has Becky out. Becky, gets angry, takes even a shot at him about don't hurt your neck on the way getting out of the ring and stuff.
Yeah.
Personal. I mean, Charlotte attacking her after that. I mean, it got super personal there.
I was like brawling. I mean, that was a good sharp. That was a really good sharp run in like that.
Yeah,
I loved it,
and I love the stip. This thing's gotten so personal with them. This is a last woman standing match now.
Yeah, and I mean, this is the first time they've ever done that.
I believe so. Yeah.
So what's that? I mean, it's just going to be like the traditional last man standing?
Yeah, 10 count. They got to be down for 10. Count of 10.
Whew. I thought that Hell in a Cell between Charlotte and Sasha was brutal, but this is going to be much more brutal than that.
I think so.
Yeah.
And the reason we think that we just covered, when you look at that card at Evolution, Rousey and Nikki, Becky, Charlotte, Trish, Lita, Alexa, it's top heavy there in one sense of the word. But Rousey, she's going to draw eyes. Becky and Charlotte, I mean, anybody that's a real women's wrestling fan is going to be watching that match.
If you're up on the current product, that's the match for you.
And Trish,
that's the match you're going to care about.
Yeah, and Trish and Lita are the nostalgia. They're going to bring some back of that crowd.
Yeah.
And so when we come to the bottom and we're looking at the Mae Young finals, they're going to see some younger, up-and-coming talent. They'll help draw eyes to that product. Sane and Baszler are wrestling for the NXT title.
And that's since I can't keep up with NXT as much as I'd like to, I'm going to be glad to see that. I want to see what that's about. So that's good for me.
There's the Battle Royal.
Yeah.
Are you pumped for the Battle Royal? Or
actually, I was disappointed at first till you told me how big the card was, because I thought they were going to just do what they do and they cram all the women in one match to hide them. But it's a giant card. And so putting the Battle Royal, it's more of a Royal Rumble experience than just being just something to give them all something to do.
Yeah. Oh, and I was going to ask you, I don't know if you saw this, they announced finally who the NXT UK challenger is.
You were telling me about that. I am super stoked.
Yeah. Ripley's defending her title against, I always butcher her name. Is it the one name I butchered? I feel horrible. Is it Isladon or is it?
I think it's Isla, if I'm not mistaken.
Isladon, like island, like Isladon.
I think that's how you say it. Terrific talent. Someone we met, was it 2 years ago? At an AWE show?
Yeah.
Very nice young lady. And a tremendous talent. And she was, think about it. She was giving hell of a matches out in the Marietta Ballroom. And now she's going to be on the first women's pay-per-view. That's awesome, man. Yeah,
she's getting a shot at the new NXT UK. Oh, by the way, did you catch that they're actually airing this? NXT's making its NXT UK, sorry. I digress. Is actually making their debut like tonight.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. That is really, really awesome.
Yeah, it's it's going to be on the network obviously Wednesday nights at 8:00, and it starts tonight if you're listening to it on the 17th. If you're listening to it after that, it's already there. You can go back and watch it. But they've and I don't want to talk a ton of this. It's kind of tangenting on it. I was thinking about that. I was like, Monday and Tuesday are casual nights because you're going to get Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah.
Wednesday is your diehard fans night because you get 205 live at 7 p.m. UK, the NXT UK at 8 p.m. and 9 p.m. you're getting regular NXT. So you get a 3-hour block if you're a diehard happy wrestling fan on Wednesday.
Yeah, and I don't see why this wouldn't make anybody happy because it's what you want to see. It's the quality you want. It's the indie vibe feel people like. Yeah, it's I love it. I'm really happy that they're going to do this, and I wish that I could get to spend more time just sitting and watching. Just to kick back and watch this show, this 3-hour block. Like it's not a 3 hours of one show. This is going to be like watching your old 605 block.
We used to get the, here in Atlanta, we used to get Superstars of Wrestling. It was a 8-hour block of wrestling. And what was cool about it is it was world class. It was Memphis. It was AWA. It was WWF. You know, it was Continental. So there were all these different types of products. And I kind of think they're kind of doing the same where you're going to get the highlight reel of 205 Live, the NXT, you know, UK. So it's a totally different roster. And then you're going to have NXT down there knocking it out of the park. I mean, dude, they're rolling.
Awesome. This is awesome. And it's, like I said, it's giving you the variety of the old 605 show. It's giving you the stuff that people like as more indie type wrestling, real wrestling. It's not your big showy stuff right now. So it's where you're going to see your hottest talent. And you're seeing so many people come off the indies onto the WWE now that you're going to get to see hot people before they become big time. You're going to see people build their talent, people build their brand and learn how to do things. Look at like the Velveteen Dream. There's somebody who just blew up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So I can't help but be super excited about what they're doing.
Well, I mean, it's a good, oh, by the way, again, I'll tangent, we're going to run out of time because we're going to tangent so much here today. Did you see, kudos, man, I'm happy to see, Mike and, Maria Kanellis. They back to 205.
That's a good place for him. Mike hasn't been able to work in a long time because of his problems. She had her baby. She's back. They're going to be a lot bigger stars on 205 than they would be on Raw or SmackDown.
And I think that's where I wanted to get to. I think this opportunities of spreading it out like this, where you're going to have Raw, your SmackDowns, the 205 Live, the UK, the NXT. I see an opportunity to spread some of that roster where people are constantly complaining that people are getting lost in the shuffle.
Yeah,
you're creating some other avenues where you can put them.
Yeah, and I'm sure they've got to be happy to be working. You know. Back in business and back on TV. Yeah, this is great.
Well, speaking of, I want to, it's not the smoothest segue on the planet, I'm sure, but, we were talking about somebody who's worked hard and made her way to the show, and Jordynne Grace.
Yeah, this was awesome, man. I was so psyched about getting to see her at WrestleCade this year, and then I find out she's going to be on Impact. And Impact has picked up, this is one thing I have to praise them. They have picked up the hottest indie female wrestling talent. Now, I know they just lost Chelsea Green, but she did what she did there. But they've got Sue Young, Kiera Hogan, Jordynne Grace, Rosemary. They've got a really good, solid women's division there, and I like it. You know, I like what they're doing. I wish they didn't call it knockouts because I think that sets back to the old tits and ass TNA. But I like what they're doing. I think this is good. You know, I like it.
I agree with her, man. She kind of earned her stripes. They're saying she's signed for a couple years with them, which makes me happy. She's been in the business 5-6 years. I can't remember exactly, but somewhere in that window.
And she's young, so she's got a lot of time.
Lots of time. And I think
powerful.
Oh, well, she showed that at All In. That's kind of, I think, where she stood out the most, and I think that's probably. I know everybody's probably disagree, but I think that's where she got this deal from. Showing off her talent, being able to get that exposure, and then everybody see her. I think that was kind of where it happened.
Yeah, it was a good for, like I said, that show was good for everybody. You know, that All In, it was a tremendous benefit. It gave people highlights. It put them in front of people who haven't seen them before. You know, it put a lot of names in front of people who hadn't seen them before. And it wasn't just your super Ring of Honor talent. There was a lot of more regional indie talent on that show.
Yeah, it's regional at the time, but now it's names that you know, right?
Yeah.
And we discussed this, and it's going to kind of waffle back here to something we were just talking about. Impact needs the boost right now. Let's be blunt. Before we talk about the big Impact news of the week, I do want to throw last week's numbers out there: 183,000 down from 190, 190,000 from the week prior.
Well, that's a statistical anomaly.
There's a trend.
Well, there's a trend, yes.
So I just wanted to be fair when I say this, with all due respect, because again, we prefaced it. We're fans of where the current product is. I'm not. Yeah. I don't have a beef with Impact at all. I really like the product. But to be fair, if you're going to crap all over the WWE's ratings, you have to crap on Impact's ratings as well.
Yeah. It's fair. It's just the way it is in the business right now.
It's fair and balanced.
Yes. And we are fair and balanced. I think we are high integrity journalists.
Yeah, so much so that I'm going to go ahead and offer the record and say I think it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Across the board, yeah.
Across the board, but specifically with Impact moving to a 10 p.m. slot.
Oh, God.
Starting next
week. Man.
Yeah, they have this week they're going to have both. They're going to have 8 o'clock and then a 10 o'clock replay on the 18th. And then on the 25th, they're moving to the new time slot. They just got to get off Pop. I still keep saying that. And I'm like, where are they going to go? I don't know. Who's going to want them? I don't know. But
like I said, that's one of those things. They'd be better off on the network.
You're going right back to where I said.
People can fight it all they want to. Man, they're an independent product. But even if they're running on the network, they get a highlighted position in front of, nearly 2 million people that have the network?
Yeah. I think Impact's better on a Thursday night on, 8 o'clock slot on Thursday.
And they're drawing, they've got their Wednesday night block now. WB is building content. WB is focusing on building a stronger network. Why not go on the network? You don't have to be excluded. I mean, you don't have to be owned by them. You just work for them. Okay?
No, I don't work for them. Work with them.
Yeah. And you're creating content for them.
Think about this. Hold on, I want to ask you this real quick before we get too far into this conversation. If they were, because they've got their Wednesday block established now. Monday and Tuesday, they're not going to make a block, by the way, because they're going to have, Raw and SmackDown on. Eventually, It'll be Monday, Friday. I get it. So even better, because then they can create a Tuesday block. What if they could go out there and tell Progress, Evolve, and whatever, and say, hey, Evolve and Progress, we're going to give you, it'll be Friday night or Saturday night right now, but it's going to be Tuesday night when we move to Fox. Then go out and get work with another, start building these indie promotions and just saying, give us content, and every night of the week you had a block that you could watch wrestling on.
Well, I'd love it, but it's too damn much wrestling for me to watch it all.
If it's on the network, guess what?
I'll watch it when I want to.
Watch it when you want to.
Folks, how can you complain about that?
Because with TV, folks, I hate to tell everybody on this planet, I cut the cord. I mean, I don't have cable, and I watch everything either on I have the DirecTV Now app, which I'll go ahead and say it, and the app, and just the other channel apps, and I watch everything that way. There's no point anymore, because if you're stuck in the archaic, like you're fighting, think about on TV, your revenue and your ad sales and all that kind of crap, they're all based on how many people watch your TV live or the +3, the +7 models on the ratings. Yeah. Just get away from it. If WWE would pay you a flat check just to give them a content every week.
Well, I mean, Impact's deal is revenue sharing. It's even worse than your average TV deal. Because the only people that have a legit TV deal right now besides the WWE is MLW. They're the only people that are getting paid to put on a television product. It's revenue sharing for Impact, and with Ring of Honor, the network owner owns them. So they're a content slot. They're paid to put on content. Impact will be better off, and I guarantee they'd draw more money on the network. Vince would pay more to have them on the network than they would have paid that Pop TV deal. It's revenue sharing, and it's not just about viewers, because those viewers have to watch the ads. If nobody's watching the ads, that means directly half of Impact's revenue is cut off.
Well, just for the record, let's go ahead and say it. If you really want to co-op it out, I don't know if this would ever happen, by the way, but if once you're on the network, would a partnership work with WWE where you're selling merch on WWEshop.com in a branch, like make it another tab where you're like Impact and it's run through the website. WWE just takes a cut and you're selling more merch because you're on their website.
That'd be brilliant.
And of course, by the way, it'll draw the attention that you're on the network. So it's a kind of a flip. Yeah. And then you could start running a couple house shows here and there, or I don't know. I'm just saying it's an option.
I think eventually it's going to get like that, like with the NFL network and sports, you're going to, instead of going and turning on a TV and looking for sports, you're going to go to a TV, like a network for each sport. And then you can watch whatever you want to from there.
The NFL will not, by the way. That's the one thing we disagree. They make way too much money across the board. And they're the WWE, as much as they would want to be, they're not the NFL. This never going to happen.
No. They don't even need to pretend that.
NFL has deals with ESPN. They have deals with Fox. They have, their own network, by the way, and CBS. I mean, there's so many pieces. Oh, and NBC and there's freaking games on Thursday night, Monday night, Sunday night. And when we get close to the playoffs, they start Saturday games. I mean, it's just, It's insane. So yeah, they got so much money tied up, but that's kind of not where we're going. But then I just think they need something to change, because even as much as some of the stuff they're working, it needs to be seen by more people.
Yeah. And it's a rub, man. It being on any form of WWE programming is a rub. It's legitimacy. And I don't know if they want to, if that's the thing, do they not want to lend that legitimacy to other products? Or maybe they are, because they're talking to them these days.
Well, let's jump into the big news of the week in Impact, and it is legitimacy is the big question mark at the end of it. So Austin Aries apparently is done with the company. And I say apparently for a reason. His contract may be up, by the way. I'm not disputing that at all.
Yeah, could be, okay.
Well, P.D. Williams I would give a shout out to our buddies over at the Wrestling Perspective podcast. Yeah. He said that Aries' contract's done and he's done. And by the way, he was not at the TV tapings either. That they just had, last night, the night before, depending on when you're listening to this. Yeah. Let's go backstory, backpedal up. I guess everybody needs to know what we're talking about. Is that, because if you're not watching Impact, you should be, because you would know this was a pretty cool thing overall, except, which I'll get to the thing in the end. So they started this, they had a brawl at the Hall of Fame. Abyss went into the, Impact Hall of Fame. So Austin Aries and Johnny Impact get into it, and they're basically, it was a shoot. It was a fight. A brawl broke out. Yeah. Well, the shit really hits the fan at Bound for Glory, the pay-per-view this past weekend. At the end of the match, Johnny Impact wins the Impact title. But Austin Aries just completely no-sells the finish. I mean, as far as, as soon as the finish, the 1, 2, 3, boom, he's up, storming out, flips off Don Callis in the crowd, and just walks away.
And he is such a good heel. You don't know if it's his work or shoot. How can you tell?
Well, my first rule of thumb is just pro wrestling, so it's a work. Nothing happens in front of a camera. I shouldn't say nothing. 95% of the time, nothing happens in front of the camera that's not a work. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. It's wrestling, and it was a good little show. I think Austin Aries is a believable, regardless of what he's going to do. He's a good actor. He's a good heel. And if people say, "Oh, Austin Aries was a jerk," he's a believable jerk because he has a reputation for doing stuff like that. So,
well, and that's the hypocrisy of it all. It's just a few months ago, everybody was touting Austin Aries as being this great addition. He was a great champion for Impact. And then, by the way, if again, and if I'm wrong, I'll come back on later on the record and say, hey, I'm wrong. Sorry, my bad. But I think it's just totally a work. But for all the people crapping on it, getting sucked right into it and talking about how he's a baby, he's hard to work with, and this, I'm like, come on, man. Maybe he needed a break for a couple of weeks. He just needs a work. I still think it's a work.
Vince does not like him at all. I'm not Vince, sorry. Jim Cornette. Jim Cornette does not like him at all. So, maybe it's as big an ego as he is.
Could be, man. Who knows? But that was the big news coming out of Bound for Glory, and that's the sad part. It's the whole card. If you want to hear some more stuff on it, I mean, I know, Lewis is taking a break this week. He's going to come back with a new format. But yeah, he's your Impact expert. So make sure you keep a follow on what's going on with him. And he'll probably
Canadian expert too, man. He's covering all kind of stuff going on up there.
Oh God, yeah, man. That's kind of what he does, man. That's his thing. Well, he used to cover that other promotion, Ring of Honor at New Japan as well. The big buzz out of there this week is, so Tama Tonga goes to Twitter and basically says the Elite doesn't exist without the Bullet Club. Good luck in the WWE. And then followed it up with a tweet that said, we were here before, we were here during, we will be here after, # Bullet Club. Good luck in WWE. Just fueling the fire that the Bullet Club, Elite, the Cody, Paige, Kenny, the Bucks, etc., are all going to be heading to the WWE when their contracts are up here towards the end of the year. Even so much so, by the way, at Legends of the Ring, the convention, Cody mentioned in a passing to Paige, they won't be doing an All In 2 because they're all heading to the WWE, which of course he followed up with he was joking, he's kidding. And the thing you brought to my attention about the shirts, them all talking about this was their last Bullet Club shirts.
I'm loving what Cody's doing. I'm loving what they're doing. They're drawing more attention to themselves. They're teasing. They're working the fans. This kind of thing's been done forever in wrestling. This is awesome. I mean, is he going to take that? Is he going to take that NWA belt back to Vince?
Nah, he's dropping that thing at the 70, don't you think?
Yeah, he's dropping it. That's the only logical thing. But it's working. It's making people pay attention to what he's doing now. You kind of start sleeping on Cody, and before long, it's like, oh, is he doing this? And then he makes you pay attention to him. It's pretty smart. I mean, the guy's got marketing down. He got this stuff figured out. So sell yourself. He is his father's son.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it's the same thing. I think they're working everybody. They're keeping the interest up. And to me, that's just a cool thing. Mm-hmm. But I can't knock him enough. I can't praise him enough for the work he's doing and keeping everybody in there
and drawing people's eyes to wrestling.
Yeah. Well, there's another guy. I wanted to throw this in here before we get out of here. Still in the news, man. We talked about him a while back. Mr. David Arquette still in the wrestling talk. He's been teaming up lately with RJ City. And recently he did up at the Border City Wrestling 20th anniversary show in Windsor, Ontario, which we were just talking about. Lewis was at this show and got to meet David Arquette, and he actually had him on for an interview right prior to that. This match, by the way, that he wrestled in that night will air November 9th on the Global Wrestling Network. So if you definitely want to check it out, it's a way to.
Has he paid for his sins?
I don't think that he ever had them, but that's a different argument.
But with wrestling fans though, they treated it like he had sinned against God. He had blasphemed because he put the belt on him, and he's always had this. I'm not going to say reputation, but people always thought he destroyed WCW, which he didn't. But people are always like, oh, David Arquette, blah blah blah. Is he trying to get himself back over with wrestling fans? Is he just trying to do something he wants to do? I think the guy's just enjoying himself right now.
Well, DDP's even come out, kind of support him and said he just wants to, he just wants the respect from the fans. He's a fan of wrestling. He's working really hard. I mean, hell, he's suffered since he's come back. Broken ribs, his knees are hurting, his back's hurting. He's got fingers that won't even, his hands won't even close all the way because of the, what he's done to his fingers since coming back. Just crazy stuff like that. But they've done a great job. Him and RJ City have great chemistry, by the way. I don't know if you've seen any of their videos.
They're gold together.
They are. They're money. They've been booked on shows nationwide, it looks like. Just kudos to David Arquette, if nothing else, withstanding the storm and still pushing through to, to try to earn the respect that he wants from the fans.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, more power to him, man. He's making himself happy in wrestling business. I think that's all that's important.
100%. And do your thing, man. Do your thing. And, before we get out of here, I want to tell, one more shout out. Last week we kind of, the pale horse, Josie Quinn, we call him Drew Duckworth, by the way. He got the little call. He got the call up to the Ring of Honor after going through the dojo.
Yes.
And now word's leaking out. Friend of the show. 5-time guest on the podcast, O'Shea Edwards, looks like he's getting the call as well, which, we said that back in December of last year that I called it myself. I said this was going to be another guy who's going to make it.
He's got the personality for the big show. He's natural for him. He's a guy that can work, but also has the personality to be able to go over on a big scale. He can draw heat. He can entertain. One
of the biggest shit talkers you will ever find in pro wrestling. Yes. And then who was it recently that said, it was Jericho. Doesn't matter about the match, man. You got to talk him into the building. And if nothing else, and like you said, the perk is, guess what? He can go in there and he can work. He's the big man. He'll put that bruising fight on him. But your key thing is he's going to talk shit and he's going to talk people into the building.
Yeah. Yeah. He makes you want to come out and watch him.
Yeah. Definitely need to get him back on.
People miss out on these days.
Yeah. Easiest, I will tell this is the craziest thing. O'Shea Edwards is hands down the easiest interview I think I've ever done since doing the podcast.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I got to agree with you on that. And I didn't do the interview. I just listened to it. It just seemed like it was magic, for lack of a better way to put it.
Oh yeah. So kudos to our boy O'Shea. Shout out and love, nothing but respect. And, we're happy for him. And, by the way, for the record, I'm going to come back out again and say I called it in December of last year that he was going to be our pick. He was my pick that he's going to be somewhere. And I did it on Scotty's show, buddy over at Wrestler Weekly. Yeah. He asked me, and that was one somebody that I threw out there and said he's going to be the guy. He's going to be one of the guys.
Mm-hmm.
So, man, what else you got, man? I don't really.
I'm pretty much tapped out, for lack of a better way to put it.
Well, I guess that's kind of how we roll, right? If I got nothing and you got nothing, man, what time is it?
It's time to tap out.